So just a short information for those who don't know IFORC is Europe. So it is a European project that arises from the Spanish project of IFOR Kids from the Hospital San Joan de Déu, and it arises from the lack of European focus on pediatric innovation due to a really adult focus of solution and a clear lack of devices for our children. And the fragmented ecosystem in Europe of the innovation in pediatrics. So that's why 2 years ago has been created IFOR Kids Europe, which is a European pediatric innovation network that is now ongoing and fully working, and that aims at having synergy and reduce differences between a strong and emerging innovator ecosystem, as well as we strengthen the innovation competitiveness of the European pediatric sector. So just a short highlight of some outcomes that we have. So our latest big milestone is the white paper of IFOR Kids Europe that we are really glad to share with you that we just published. So it highlights the current landscape of pediatric innovation, which is most pressing challenges, but also all the opportunities that are existing. And we have here a call to action for the European decision makers based on key recommendations that we have during working groups, but also some success cases from other countries that we really highlight and that we propose as a recommendation to be implemented to boost pediatric innovation in Europe. We will send you the link in the chat if you didn't read it yet, and we encourage you to do it. So now that we set the stage of what is IFOR Kids Europe, we are really glad today to have this training capsule, which is focused on the experience of Cebiotex. So Cebiotex is a spin-off, and their like let's say their motto is painting a new picture in surgical oncology. So just before to start, maybe if Joan, Jose, and Lucas can give a short presentation about themselves, and after they will present the company.
Yes, thank you for the introduction. I'm Joan Bertran, co-founder, and CEO of Cebiotex. It's a pleasure to participate in this connection, and I hope that all the people that participate could learn a little bit. When I started years ago, I participate in this kind of collaborations, and I have learned a lot with my previous CEOs and previous entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Well, maybe I introduce myself now. I'm Jose Antonio Tornero. I'm co-founder. I'm CTO of Cebiotex. First of all, Charlotte, thank you very much for this invitation and all the attendants for coming here, because we really appreciate the opportunity to share our experience. So as I commented, I'm a researcher at the Technical University of Catalonia, on one hand, where I carry out my activity by developing machinery for producing nanofibers and in research in advanced materials. And on the other hand, I devote most of my time to work as a responsible of the manufacturing technology for Cebiotex, which is what we are going to explain today. So I think that Lucas can now introduce.
Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Charlotte, for your kind introduction. Thank you, everybody from IFOR Kids ecosystem, and all those of you who are behind the screen and just wondering how Cebiotex is and how we manage to innovate in pediatrics. I am Lucas Krauel. I'm a pediatric surgeon. I'm focused on surgical oncology. I trained here in Spain, then I moved to the US and work at MSKCC, Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, and then I came back. Just right after came back is when Paediatrics everything started. So it's been a long journey now. So after this brief introduction, let me share the screen, and I'll tell you more about what Cebiotex is. So Charlotte, please let me know when the screen is shared, and you are able to see the slides, please. Because I know it takes a while.
No, now we can see your screen. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Well, as I mentioned, it takes a little bit to move the slides to the connection. I wonder if we are able to see now the second slide.
Yes, Charlotte? We see the team. Yeah.
Yes, because in my screen it goes very slow. Anyway, so this is us a few years ago. You can see about the picture. I think we all look a little bit younger. And entrepreneurship has many good things, but I might say, and this is something that Joan also mentions all the time, it can be a little bit stressful, but we're here, we're happy, and we're enjoying all this innovation and all this pathway that we have been through. So I think these slides clearly summarize why this is an unmet clinical need. Probably the background here is very different. Probably you are not going to be either surgeons or doctors, but I think it's very easy to understand here that we have a problem. We have a big tumor in a kid, in a 2-year-old kid. This is a neuroblastoma, and in order for you to understand better, I just put these two pictures here. The one on the left is a reproduction in 3D of this tumor that you have seen already on the previous slides of the CT scan, and you can understand, you can see how complex is, how big is, how is encasing everything, and how difficult might be to remove it and to take it out. And then here it's just a short video correlating this huge tumor with what is surgery. And then, as you can see, the surgeon, we did a quite good job. The team, we removed all the tumor. We're very happy. We do believe that we have taken everything out, but we don't have a microscope with us, and it's very difficult to assess the margins. It's very difficult here to make sure that you're not leaving microscopical residual disease. And if we encounter problems here with the vessels or with the kidneys whatsoever, probably we're going to leave a little bit of tumor always behind. So that's why Cebiotex just started. We have here a problem. We need to assure that we are taking out all the tumor and not leaving anything behind us. And as a surgeons, we probably only have one opportunity, one surgery, and that will be the only opportunity we have to operate on that tumor. So that's everything started when we had this unmet clinical problem. And I must say that a very different background professionals from different institutions, the Universitat Politècnica de Barcelona that you mentioned, with of Catalunya, sorry, where Jose is, and then Joan is an engineer with a lot of experience in operations, and then all the scientific team from Hospital Sant, led by Jaume Mora, but also many other, all the research people from the lab. Gathered together to try to find a solution. And this solution is the solution that we're going to present here, that is Cebiotex. So Cebiotex has developed a unique and scalable and patent local delivery system in order to solve what I've already mentioned, that is the remaining cancer cells that are the chance are high to leave behind after surgery. So obviously, before starting any startup or any spin-off, you need to have some scientific background behind in order just to scale and to move to to entrepreneurship and make a startup. So here in the labs of Hospital Sant, we did all the basic research with Cebiotex, with FEBPS, and we proved the efficacy of this new solution in animal models. In animal models that we started with pediatric tumors. Obviously, we are a pediatric institution, and everything came here and started because of a pediatric problem. We tested in neuroblastoma, we tested in Ewing sarcoma, rhabdomyosarcoma, and a soft tissue sarcoma. And we have also tested it in pancreatic cancer. I'll explain you later why we have tested in an adult tumors as well. Anyway, so as you can see here on the different slides and the graphics, when we put the membrane in, the tumor growth stop, and we don't have any growth tumor here, as opposed to the graph on the right side, where you can see that if you don't put anything or just a membrane, everything just keeps growing with the tumor cells. So how does this exactly this new solution works? Well, we have here the one of the probably most experienced engineers in nanoparticles in electrospinning. This is Jose, and he created this specific mesh that our scientific research from Sant Joan entangled the active metabolite of irinotecan, which is the SM38, and that has made a potential of 1,000 times more activity on the surgical bed than is the one that you can give intravenously if you give irinotecan. So also this membrane is resorbable, it's biocompatible, and after 3 months, you cannot find anything on the surgical bed. And also, and very important, that the release of the active principle, the SM38, starts in the surgical bed for a month. And you have to understand why that is so important. So if we have a candidate for surgery, because it has a tumor that needs to be operated, then this candidate goes for surgery. And as I mentioned, you have this only one opportunity to make sure that you take everything out from the tumor and nothing is left behind. If you're lucky and your tumor is radiation, it's effective to radiation therapy or chemotherapy, that can given to the patient after the surgery. But still, you have to wait for 4 weeks in order to start radiation therapy or chemotherapy again. Why? Well, the patient the wounds needs to heal, and as you know, radiation therapy or chemotherapy affects the healing process. So normally those patients stay without treatment for a week. I said if you're lucky, you can have radiation therapy or chemotherapy, but many tumors that are candidates for surgery, they do not respond to radiation therapy or chemotherapy. That is the case for some pediatric tumors, and in the case of pancreas, like I mentioned, also we have a very, very low response to radiation therapy or chemotherapy. So Cebiotex in CEB01 acts during all these 4 weeks where surgery is done, and then you don't have any other treatment that you can give to the patient. This is also important because if you leave nothing on the surgical bed, the chances are that you might have a recurrence, depending on the tumor, are very high. For instance, for soft tissue sarcomas, you can have a relapse after surgery in 2 or 3 years. And specifically, like in pancreatic cancer, and this is adult cancer, you can have a recurrence of 80% during the first 2 years after the surgery. So we conducted this initially phase 1 safety clinical trial in order to just to make sure that what we know from the animal models was also well tolerated in humans. And we were sure about that, but you have to demonstrate that to the regulators. And as you can see here on these graphs, it's a very safe product. We didn't have any secondary effects or systemic effects, not local, not systemic. The exposition levels of SM38 are similar the area under the curve in terms of efficacy as those of irinotecan, but locally. So we have a very high activity on the surgical bed. And as you can see here, not only that, but as opposed to irinotecan, that it's washed out after a few hours, and the one that we left on the surgical bed, it stays there for a month. And this is very important because it's the time that tumor cells that are left behind can grow or disseminated. These are the data here from CEB01 phase in retroperitoneal sarcoma. We have 14 patients. As I mentioned, we didn't have any secondary effects that it's worrisome. We didn't find any dose-limiting toxicity in any of the cohorts. And those patients, we have already seen them, 3 of them, for over 2 years with no relapse. This is just initial data. Obviously, we don't have efficacy here, but we are on the right path. So that means that we can move to a phase 2. And then this is what I mentioned at the beginning of the talk, that the phase 2, we have decided to move to pancreatic cancer. Why? because pancreatic cancer, 80% of them recur within the 2 first years after surgery. So we are very optimistic if the products, as we expect, is going to be effective. We will have clinical efficacy data probably in the following 2 years. But we are a pediatric company and we don't have to forget that. So even though that is important, you all know that for the regulatory aspects of it, everything that is new on the market, you have to always test it first on adults. So that's why we did the soft tissue sarcoma in adults first. We're doing the pancreas now, but the good things are, and the news are, that we're going to start the pediatric clinical trial very soon. The European Medical Agency has already approved our CEB01 as a safe to start its phase 2 in children. And we have submitted the clinical trial to the Spanish Regulatory Affairs, and we would like to, and hopefully will start the recruitment of patients very, very soon. So we are very happy about that. Also, as I mentioned before, phase 1 clinical trial was done in soft tissue sarcomas. So we're also going to start a phase 2 clinical trial with sarcomas very soon. Another thing that is very important, and this is the main task that Jose Tornero has made, is that this is a very different product. This is not just a molecule that you develop on the lab and then you translate it, you manufacture it. This is more complex than that. So you need a specific engineering machine that was designed by Jose. It needs also to pass all the regulatory aspects and the good manufacturing process, and you have to make that scalable. That means we can fabricate now, we can build up 1, 2, 3, 4 membranes, but if everything goes good and smoothly as we expect, you probably will need thousands, if not millions of them, hopefully. And then for that, you need a specific machine that Jose has designed in order to have be able to escalate that and produce millions of membranes in the future. Obviously, everything has to be protected under patents, and Cebiotex team has made a very great effort or have not only the patents very well protected, but also the trade secrets of everything related to the engineering and the process of fabricating the membranes. So just to summarize and to finish, just to remind you that Cebiotex is a unique and scalable patented local drug delivery system, completely new. There's nothing else out in the market. For surgical oncology, we have positive phase 1 results in intraperitoneal soft tissue sarcoma. We are having an ongoing phase 2 in pancreatic cancer, and we're going to start a phase 2 also in pediatrics, which is one of the goals of the company. Obviously, as I mentioned, we need to have a GMP certification and have a good engineering behind in order to escalate this. And I'm not going to go into the detail with the market, but as you can imagine, surgical oncology market is huge, and the potentials patients that can benefit from this solution are very, very high numbers. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank all the Cebiotex team. Everything started with just the 3 of us. Everything grew. We have an outstanding team behind. 7 people now is working full-time in the company. Others are working part-time. And thanks to all of them, we are where we are right now. And hopefully we'll see an exit very soon. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any comments, here you have the contact of Joan, Bertran, the CEO of the company.
Thank you very much, Lucas, for this presentation and present with us this promising solution. So now to continue, we'll deep dive into like the journey in pediatrics you have, like the big team and strengths that you share and your experience. So maybe we can start a bit with Joan as a CEO. So I had a question on your background, because you are coming from an industrial background as director of operation in the textile. So why did you make this move to entrepreneurship? And what inspired you to focus on the development of innovative biomaterial for pediatric cancer?
Yes, I try to be synthetic. First of all, in textile, we made technical textiles, not only textiles to the clothes, no? And in that time, in 2008, in my company, we work in textile applications in the biomedicine. This is our start to the project, no? We focus in this. And in 2009, Sarah was the daughter of my friend, died after 4 years fighting to the neuroblastoma. And when died, I don't know what happened in me, and I don't accept this kind of the situation, no? And I said, I must to be something to help the kids like Sarah. And in that moment started the project, no? And the idea was very simple, no? Like Lucas explained before, no? Is a textile biomembrane that we load with the chemotherapy. And the idea was cover the clinical bed around the big vessel, Sarah. I am sure now, in a few months, Sarah will be with us if we could, or Lucas could apply the CEP01 in Sarah. This started for a very strong emotion and very strong wish to change these kinds of situations.
And how did you start? Like how did you connect with people, or did you start with a spin-off? Or
Yes.
how did you did this starting point to the collaboration that you have now?
Yeah, was a simple way, no? The medicine doctor that treated Sarah was Jaume Mora. Jaume Mora here in Sant Joan de Déu was the medicine doctor of Sarah, no? First of all, I think in my head the idea, no? And when I had a clear idea, I went to Jaume Mora, Sant Joan de Déu, and I said, this is my idea. I could help your kids. If you support me, let's go, no? And I started with Jaume Mora. This is the first link. And it's very important that in a health projects on biotech, it's very important the leadership from the medicine doctors. Medicine doctors must to hold the projects. No, we have Jaume Mora and Lucas Krauel in the Paediatric, and then Jaume Mora connect me to the innovation area in Sant Joan de Déu. This is the first key of our successful. Sant Joan de Déu and Barcelona have a very power team in innovation. And in this point, we have the clinical need, the solution, perhaps, and then we have the collaboration with the innovation team in Sant Joan de Déu. Innovation teams in Science was Dr. Montero, and then Lucas Krauel. And this is a way, little by little, we advance. And then we ask who make this kind of technical fabric. And I look for around the Europe, and finally I met Jose Antonio. And for the first moment, Jose Antonio loved the project and the idea and support the project. No? And I would like that Jose Antonio and Lucas tell us why make the pass through the lab to the startup, and why decide this kind of decision, because it's very important in the startups, no, that the people from the labs or the clinical trials or the clinicals come to the startups. This is the why Cebiotex now is in collaboration with Sant Joan de Déu UPC and Lucas Krauel and Jose Antonio.
Maybe Jose, you can explain us how you take this leap from research to this entrepreneurial journey where you are now.
Well, sure. Well, The point is that, as Joan commented, when he came to our research institute just to see if we were able to produce this kind of new material, at that moment we were very excited about the technology of electrospinning, which is able to produce nanofibers. And at that moment we were designing our own machines. We were producing the scientific publications, trying to apply for public grants, these kind of things which are very common in the research area and in professional researchers. But when Joan came and explained to me the idea of the project, it really looked like a way in which you can do one step ahead and you can bring the results of your research one step forward, and then actually you are able to see your results applied to the real world. I mean, when you are in basic research, there is the real danger that you never arrive to the market or to see your results applied to apply in the real world. Okay, this is not bad at all, because basic research is, of course, very necessary. But as an engineer, in the end, you always want to see your products working and selling and helping the people. And this was very exciting on one hand. On the other hand, it was not only the possibility to bring the research to the real world, but also it was possible to help people and to children even more. So when Joan came, I had no doubt. And as Lucas also commented at the beginning, then you have some headaches during the path, but it's absolutely worth the step I did. So I'm really happy with the decision I took at the moment.
And maybe, Jose, just to continue on that before to have the explanation from Lucas. So you discuss about this aspect of the applying the science, but how do you tailor Cebiotex technology to meet like the market needs, to really focus on what needs the business and particularly the specific requirements that can have pediatrics?
Well, basically with a lot of work, because coming from research, usually, of course, you have constraints. Usually the constraints come from the budget of the projects. But in this case, when you want to arrive to the pediatric, to application in patients, you have many other constraints. The first one is that you have to adapt to the very, very, very narrow requirements of the pharma world, because you have to produce products that in a mandatory way have to fit in a very narrow specification. That's absolutely a challenge for producing. So you have to apply a lot of effort and research and development in order to get very accurate machine, very robust and reliable machine. That on one hand. On the other, you have also the constraints of budget, because you are working with some public funding, but also with a lot of private funding. So you have to be, you always have to be very responsible with that, and the resources are always limited. That always applies. But in this case, you have the third additional point, which is the time constraints, because time constraints are very important when you enter in the industrial and the entrepreneurship world, and you have to adapt to them. So in the end, all of these points are solved applying a lot of effort, a lot of job, and especially try to be compliant with the deadlines and with the resources which are available, which in basic research, sometimes those constraints are there as well, but are different, are not so strong, let's say.
Thank you. So you mentioned a lot the budget, and that's a question maybe that I have for Joan. So in our report that I mentioned at the beginning, one of the biggest challenges that we identify is funding and financing pediatric innovation, right? And I wanted to ask you, in the case of Cebiotex, how did you secure funding, and what advice could you offer to other biotech startups that are looking to fundraising?
Well, first of all, we have to have a strong scientist, clinic, and technology data. If you don't have data, it's impossible to raise funding. This is the first condition. The second condition is that you have to make a plan, financial plan, model, business plan. You have to make the project. And then you have to check this project with the ecosystem, with the venture capitals, and with the ecosystem, local ecosystem. And if this ecosystem said yes, you could pass in the next step. No, in the case of Cebiotex, first of all, the question of Cebiotex. First of all, we start to work with Sant Joan de Déu UPC, and when we had the strong data, we decided to create Cebiotex. And Cebiotex is the tech transfer. These two institutions sign the tech transfer to Cebiotex and send the license in intellectual property. No, this is the first step. Create a startup. In our case, is in spin-off. We have the license in the patents. This is the first thing. And in this moment appear José Antonio Montero and me, and then started. This is the first. Second is the data. Another is check in the case of CEF funding. We participate in Bioemprendedor 21 here in Barcelona. Was a very, very high project that checked the best projects in biotech or in health. No. And in these participations, we was the third candidate. And in this moment is a tricky situation. No, in this moment, one of the co-founders, in my opinion, have to decide put 100% of the time in the startup. In our case, I decided leave to my comfortable work, no, in the industry, and dedicate 100% of the time to Cebiotex. And then to raise funding is a rule, is the 3F, no? The family, friends, and friends. This is the first question. If you are the people around you, if the people around you don't believe in you, it's quite impossible that you convince the third people, no? And this is the key of raise funding, no? And unfortunately, here in Barcelona, the brand UPC and Sant Joan de Déu is like quality assurance, no? And we raise the first, the second, and we are in the five funding round. This is our experience.
Thank you. And maybe so, which kind of challenges do you think you have ahead or you already passed through? Which was the most difficult thing to achieve, or what you think will be the next one and how to overcome it?
Yes, the first years ago, in 2000, I think was 2011, was the tech transfer. In that time here in Barcelona was so complicated sign this kind of deals, no? This was the first complication. Then one thing that the entrepreneurs have to be very clear is the legal structure of the startup. And unfortunately, Cebiotex have a very strong legal construction. We have to go to the lawyer, and a very good lawyer that have experience in the startups, and this lawyer have to construct this legal, no? This is important. And this was the second challenge, no? The first is sign the technical transfer, then is create Cebiotex with a strong lawyer support, and then the funding. The funding is our problem for a time, no? And the funding, unfortunately, here in Barcelona, there are a very power ecosystem like social invest partners that support us a lot of time, and this family office or private equity support us for all the time, and take the other supports like venture capitals or the public funding. Cebiotex in the end, I think is 50% public funding, 50% private equity. This is our challenge now.
Thank you. Maybe just before to move to Lucas, that I some question about his own journey. If you have any question, don't hesitate to raise a hand or to write it in the chat. So Lucas, so you told me that before to join Cebiotex, you are a pediatric surgeon at St. John de Dios Hospital, but you were in the US when Joan approached you. So what motivates like a pediatric surgeon to join the entrepreneurship journey, and what are the challenges? Like what motivates you?
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. Well, I must say that Joan and Jaume and Jose I don't think approach was the correct word. I think they kidnapped me. The moment I landed from New York, they said, they didn't ask any question. That was Jaume mainly. He kidnapped me and said, come here right now, you have to see something. And then obviously they showed me what they were working on, what the idea was, and what the the future could be about this new medical solution. So actually, it didn't take much to convince me to get involved, because this is an unmet clinical solution. This is a problem that we have. So this is something that you quite easy. I jump in at the moment that I was presented to this story.
So you say that so it was a fortunate kidnapping, but as a surgeon and like kind of a direct customer of the solution, how your knowledge and experience that you have contribute to the solution in Cebiotex, and how do you ensure it always meets the clinical needs that you see in your day-to-day?
Well, as I mentioned, right, when you face surgery, many of the tumors that face surgery, you need to make sure that you are taking the whole thing out. Even though you are quite sure and you will reassure that you are taking the whole thing out, there's a high chance that you are leaving some microscopic residual disease. And even, sometimes you even are very sure that you have to take the whole thing out, and then comes the pathology who's reviewing the histology and say, well, look, this margin, sometimes not because you've done things wrong, just because the tumor, you don't have a plane or you don't have enough space to leave some margin. So this is a specific need that it's right there, and the surgeons and the surgical oncology needs them. So probably besides this clinical and unmet problem that we face, probably my experience as a surgeon probably ensures that the product that we have developed is practical and is effective, and it's aligned with the real world clinical needs and the OR. Like you could make a membrane that it's probably very hard and it breaks, or it's very difficult to to handle, to maneuver, or to position it in the surgical bed. But we ended up after a few meetings and discussions and so on, how the membrane should be for the surgical bed. It should be a membrane that adapts. It should be a membrane that you can really leave it in very complicated spaces, and that's something that probably only the surgeons who are right there know how the human anatomy is and how it should behave to have a good product.
And sorry, Charlotte, a question
Bueno.
about funding round. is Lucas and Jose Antonio remember 2011 in August, when for me was so difficult raise the first funding round. I asked to Lucas and Jose and said, well, we must to put money on the table, no? And the entrepreneurs have to know that all of us put on the table the money that we had and no had, and put only on the table. If we don't put this funding round and this money, Cebiotex couldn't start at the project. Lucas, do you remember, no? And Jose Antonio was very interesting situation in that point, no? And this means the feeling of the entrepreneurs. This is the good feeling for us. Thank you.
I still have the same car. I didn't change it.
No, yeah, good to know. I think you mentioned a lot the sacrifice and the dedication that requires the entrepreneurship side. I have a question about a bit how do you balance your roles, because I'm personally really impressed about the diverse backgrounds and skills that you have in the team, and maybe for Jose Antonio, how do you manage this dual responsibility between more the research side and the entrepreneur side? Like, how is it complementary?
Yes, and they are absolutely completely different tasks in any case. So research, development, and all the quality aspects of the product and machinery and manufacturing is on one hand, and on the other hand, of course, we are all three, the three co-founders are involved in the management of the company. So basically, it's a matter of calendar and agenda. So you dedicate some hours to one thing and hours to the other thing. I have to say that, of course, in our case, I understand that for Lucas is the same that for me. Most of my time is for research and development in the company and on technical management. While, of course, for Joan as a CEO, it's a lot of time for management. I have to say that the management task from my side, under my point of view, are not so demanding in terms of time. Of course, there are time, but not so much. But they are quite demanding in terms of thinking, let's say, because it's something you are thinking during the whole day, not only, let's say, during the labor hours. While with research and development topics is usually is easier to concentrate on the daily time, because most of you rely on all your team. Of course, we are the three co-founders here, but there are a lot of people involved in the team of Cebiotex. And for development and research, you are working during the whole day on that, and then the management topics arise in any moment during the day, beyond your calendar, of course, and these kind of things. But it's not that complicated to balance that work, under my point of view. That's not the challenging point.
Thank you. I see we have a question in the chat. I don't know who wants to take it, but it's a congratulations and thank you for very interesting insights. What would you recommend to a new PI, clinician, or researcher or innovator with an innovative project at the start of the journey, deciding if to move to starting their journey in pediatric entrepreneurship?
Jose, contestas?
Okay. Well, I know probably all of us have some recommendations for that. I would say that on one hand, it's very exciting and it's very, let's say, pleasant as a researcher. On the other hand, you have to be aware that you enter in a new field in which, for example, about lawyers, as Joan commented. As a researcher, I almost never signed everything. And since we started Cebiotex, I have signed a lot of documents. So in the beginning, you are scared when you have the first meetings with the lawyers, because it's not your natural framework. So you have to be aware of that. Also, you have to take into account that probably it's going to be a long journey, because I understand that we are talking about the pharma sector. The pharma path to the market, it's very long, and you have to be aware of that. because the decisions that you take in the beginning probably are going to be with you for many years. So it's not a short journey. But again, I have to say that under my point of view, it's worth the effort and some headaches you have. But on the other hand, also you clearly see the results and the benefit that you can provide also to the society.
I would like to point out something, because the question was about the pediatric innovation. So I think, starting a journey in pediatric innovation, it's really worth it and remarkable, and really, I don't know how to say that in English, but it's very amazing to see that you can have an impact in pediatrics, in children in general. But we have to face that this is very difficult in many aspects. This is very difficult because venture capital are not willing to probably to invest in pediatric companies because they don't see a big or an enough big market. Also, it's complicated due to regulatory affairs and agencies, which sometimes they don't make things very easy. So I would say that we need the help from institutions and initiatives like i4Kids or institutions like Sant or other pediatrics hubs that will help the innovator to overcome these initial hurdles. But the journey is worth it.
And if you have any question, please write it again in the chat. I have a question on what you mentioned. So you mentioned that you are also doing the like a solution for pancreatic cancer. So what unique challenge do pediatric cancer patients face compared to adults, and how can you develop at the same time something for the adult market?
So, well, I mean, this started here at Sant. So this started for kids and for pediatric cancer. And we have to understand that pediatric cancer and adult cancer is not the same. Adult cancer is usually due to aging as opposed to pediatric cancer. Pediatric cancer is usually because there's something molecular disruption, problem, genetics, whatsoever. I'm not going to get into detail with that. So why cancer happens in those different populations? It's completely different. Nevertheless, from the surgical point of view, we do face the same problems. You have to do a surgery, as I show, and then you need to assure that you're not leaving anything behind. So even though we started with a pediatric problem, this is also a problem that adult surgeons are facing. So we focus in pediatrics, but that means that this is the other way around. It's usually that an innovation in adults, and sometimes, and I say sometimes, and we can discuss this farther on, sometimes they implement that solution into pediatrics, although it's quite difficult and sometimes companies are not interested. In this case, I think it was the other way around. We find a solution for our pediatric kids, and then we see and we saw that we also have a huge market with adults. So we are combining both things at the same time.
Thank you. I don't know if there are any question from the audience. If not, I have a question about a bit your vision for the future. So where do you see Cebiotex in 5-10 years? And what impact do you hope your work will have on the pediatric healthcare and oncology in the following years?
Well, in 5 years, Lucas Krauel have our membranes to apply to the patients. In 5 years, the pancreas surgeons could apply our membrane. This is our wish, no? And in the end, we would like sign a deal in 3 years to the pharma industry. And this pharma industry have to develop to the market our project, no? This is our wish for 5 years. And more things. And for example, the question is, we started in pediatric, no? Our dream is pediatric. And why we are developing the phase 2 in pancreas, no? In adults. The people couldn't not understand, no? And we are in adults because I said the professionals in the funding don't invest in pediatric, the professional, because the multiplies, the potential profit multiplies in the pediatrics is not plus 10, plus 20, is perhaps plus 2. And this kind of ratio is not fair for the professionals on funding. And then this is one in one side. In another side, at the moment, here in Barcelona, in Spain, don't have enough power to invest in the impact invest at the moment. For these reasons, Cebiotex, our focus now is adults, to raise funding and to sign a good deal. And this funding and this deal could continue the pediatric project, because we insist, and is a must for us, if our investors don't accept the pediatric program, we don't accept this kind of investors. Is our first condition, no? We must respect our pediatric, but the life is the life, and we must to develop in adults for this reason. If we have in the market enough funding, Cebiotex, I'm sure, was focused in pediatric and will be far away. We started the clinical trials in Europe, in US, and we are 5 years after, but now. This is the real situation now about funding.
Thank you, Joan. There is a question like, if you started now, if there's something specifically important that you could have done differently? Constitution in here versus in the US, or other important decision?
Jose and me participate in an accelerator program in Boston, invitation for the Ritchie Foundation. And if I started again, I was in Boston, not here in Barcelona. In that time. Now, I don't know, but in 2009, 2010, the solution was Boston, definitely. Now, no, I don't know. I forget, for example, this to potential this kind of projects, no, like us, no. But in that moment, this is nothing. Nothing was a desert. Unfortunately, the young people are improving our society and believe in the kids, no? For me, it's so proud.
Nice. Thank you a lot for all these insights. I think it's really interesting, like the case of Cebiotex, that you kind of start in pediatric and slowly move to adult, even if we wish that there is more pediatric investment. So I don't know if there is any question. Last opportunity.
I'd like to add something to what
Yes, please.
Jose and Joan mentioned, this, I mean, the first target is are tumors for this platform, but this platform has unique properties, and it can only not just be used for cancer, but also we have ongoing research that these specific nanofibers that are very surgeon friendly. So that means that we can use that for many other platforms. We can use that for living at the OR, but sometimes it's difficult to control, and then there are some products out there that they are not quite good. So this membrane could potentially have some hemostatic products in it. Also, this membrane could have antibiotics or wound healing. So it's not only cancer. Cancer is our main focus, obviously, and this is the the first pipeline probably of the company. But we have on the future on mind, and that obviously that will be related to funding as well and some more research. But we can use this platform for many other developments in the future.
Thank you a lot. And well, thank you so much to the three of you for all the insights and experience that you are sharing with us, and the potential next innovators that you can inspire with your own journey in pediatrics. So, well, first of all, good luck for the next years that are ahead and seems to be inspiring and full of opportunities. I want to invite you to the next training capsule that we will have on the 20th of February. That will be focused in the insights from I4Kids and I4Kids Europe in accelerating pediatric and maternity health, and the role it can have to support a company like yours.